Much of the New Testament and the early church is a story of people who were figuring out, how do we become one church and one people together when we come from different traditions with different values and different things that we hold up as important. You see, it can be difficult when somebody comes along and says this tradition needs to change. Jesus teaches we need love over the traditions. We believe it. It's one of the reasons we preach that this is a place where progressive and inclusive Christianity is practiced and preached. We preach it, but we also practice it. And we practice it because we have not perfected it. We still have work to do every time a person is denied the right to live into the fullness of who they are because of the color of their skin, because of their sexual orientation, because of their ability or disability, whatever the reason. We still have work to do. Prairie Village was one of the first suburbs in Kansas City as young families started moving kind of out of the city and into the suburbs, into bigger homes to accommodate bigger families. And as a response to that, the church said, we need a place for those families to attend worship. And that marked the beginning of Asbury United Methodist Church. The leadership of this church was instrumental in this becoming a vibrant church that served the needs of those families. Reverend Al Hager was appointed here as the senior pastor, and Al did so much to reach out to the people in this community. He would go out and visit every new family that moved into Prairie Village and invite them to the church. Many of those people raised their children in these homes and retired in these homes, and now those homes are being turned over and we see young families moving in. We want to be the church for them. And so we have a wonderful director of children and youth ministry, a vibrant ministry for families, and we feel like we are prepared in terms of our staff and our ministry to minister to these young families moving into Prairie Village. We want our facility to be prepared also, and that's part of this capital campaign.
You know, I think it's very important for a church to adapt to its surroundings. You need to be a welcoming place. You want to include as many people as possible. And Asbury has a mission that all means all, and we want to be inclusive to everybody. So a lot of times we have to change tradition. We have to alter exactly what we're doing or our appearance.
The changes need to happen because society's changed. And one of the problems is that historically the church always lags behind rather than being the leaders. This church, I think, is prepared to be a leader. First of all, this building's 60 years old, and we have to have a place from which we can work. You know, you don't want to put all your resources into a building, but you have to have a home base. So there are things that have to be taken care of, like windows that are about to fall out and old heating and cooling systems that need to be updated.
Lighting and sound and technology, spacing of the pews to make it a place where people can worship comfortably and also have kind of the latest in technology in the way we do worship. This building is important to us because we worship here, we learn here, we find community here. And so the capital campaign allows us to make improvements to the building that enable that kind of interaction to continue to occur.
We want to change the look of our entryway so that it is a more welcoming place, so that when you walk in the doors you don't see those giant 15 stairs right there waiting for you to tackle, but that it's a more open environment.
And the Sunday school rooms, for example, to be a place where all the tools are there to teach children adequately.
We know we need to include ways to use technology now that our kids are using technology both at home and at school. We want church to be connected to that so that kids are engaged in other ways here.
The other part of this campaign that's really exciting is there is a missional component where we will provide funds that will be endowed funds to help send people on mission trips.
Junior high and high school age are having more opportunities to go on trips. The 5th and 6th graders are able to work through God Squad locally. That's become really an organized thing.
I think it's very helpful for people to really get to know people of other ethnic derivations, people who are different from them in any way. Because once you get to know people, you realize that we all are pretty much alike.
I think a church helps give people a sense of being rooted and a place where they can come and find community, find fellowship, find support, and so it roots them in that strong sense of who they are and the presence of God and the importance of community in their life.
They will be exposed to the great issues in our society, and that they will have opportunities to become better informed about some of those issues and to consider how their faith should impact the decisions that they make, their actions of what they're going to do to change things that they think need to be changed. They'll be exposed to really great music, fun kinds of worship and serious kinds of worship, people stimulating them to ask questions in every realm of their life.
Too often, not only just religious organizations, but they've ignored a lot of the hard questions. One way to not address the issues is just to ignore them completely. And Asbury's done a great job. And what we want to do with our kids is to talk about the hard questions, to talk about hard subjects, to have a meaningful conversation, to make everyone knowledgeable about the situation.
And we need a church that is just espousing progressive Christianity and progressive theology. And I think that's one of the very important functions of this church.
Asbury is a really wonderful mix of people of all ages. You will walk in here on Sunday morning and you'll find families with very young children. You'll find elderly people who've been here for years. What they share in common is this: they're looking for a church where progressive and inclusive Christianity is practiced and preached. They're looking for a church where they don't have to check their brains at the door, a place where there's incredible ministry for children and youth, a place that is alive with mission, a place that offers all kinds of classes for Christians who want to learn and grow in faith. I think people are looking for that. And we want to provide the kind of facility that when people walk in here, they say, this is a place where I'm welcome, this is a place where I belong, this is a place where I want to stay, and these are people I want to be part of. There is still work for us to do. As we have people, even here, who would say we still choose tradition over the way that God would move us to be and to become. But sometimes we are called to stir things up, to question the tradition, and look to Jesus for a new way of living together. And so we continue the journey. We continue to be those people who walk together and hold each other accountable, that we might be a place where the tradition becomes all are welcome here, and all means all.